welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Mirror Ball. I'm your host, Melina, and I run Mixing It Up with Melina over on Instagram and Facebook. This week, buckle up. We are diving into season 9 of Dancing with the Stars. And for me, and I think for many of you, but I don't want to speak on behalf of all of you, but a good chunk of you who I've had conversations with, this is a very big year for multiple reasons. One, I think it holds probably one of the top 10 juiciest drama parts of this series as a whole. And I purposely didn't touch in season 8 that Karina and Max were dating and engaged, because we're gonna go a little bit more in depth with that during season 9. We also have insanity with 16 couples this season. 16. Do y'all know how much work that is for me? So we have 16 couples. We have the same 3 judges. We have the same 2 hosts. Spoiler alert, this is Samantha Harris's last season. We've got 3 new dances, and we've just got chaos. Last season, for season 8, I touched on the fact that this was an injury-prone season. No, it was. By all means, it was. But season 9 said, hold my beer, because season 9 had an insane, I honestly forgot how many injuries were through this season. So, without further ado, get comfy. This one might be a little bit longer than the other ones, but we are going to talk like the 2 best friends that we are. We're gonna chat about one of our favorite shows and one of, to me, a more pivotal season. And let's just be frank, one of the more chaotic seasons. 16 couples, whose idea was that? Anywho, get comfy, grab a blanket, grab your drink of choice, and let's do this. 2 things. 1, last week I touched on how I thought it would be my last week filming in a sweater for however many months. I manifested it. I put it out there. I was like, I'm not ready to not be in sweaters. Today's freezing. We are gonna be freezing next week. Well, and by all means, freezing, it's not freezing. It's just very cold, which I prefer. Anywho, that, and I may or may not crack a second Diet Coke while I film this. Your girl is tired. I've struggled. For those of you who aren't aware or maybe forgot, I'm a type 1 diabetic, and this week has been a doozy for my blood sugars. I've been low so much. It's probably stress related. Anywho, so I am very excited to have this season happen when it is, because I find so much joy in it. So let's talk about the couples that enter the ballroom for season 9. Mind you, we're gonna set the close your eyes. We are drifting back to the prime, fall 2009. Okay. Did your beeper just go off? Oh, no beepers, that's too late. Did your flip phone? Ooh, 2009, BlackBerry. Did you have a BlackBerry? I felt so cool. Okay. Let's talk about our couples. So we're gonna start from who went home first and work our way down to who won. For number 16, we had Ashley Hamilton, an actor. Fun fact, he is George Hamilton's son, who was with Edita. Is that season 2? 2 or 3? But George Hamilton is the famous, iconic, legendary actor. His son, Ashley, then goes on to be on the show, also partnered with Edita. And Edita has said in previous interviews, she thought it was really cool to have a father-son at different times throughout the season. Next to go home was Macy Gray, the singer, and she was partnered with Jonathan. Then we had the model turned entrepreneur, Kathy Ireland, partnered with Tony Dovolani. Fun fact, Kathy is one of the leading, most successful self-made billionaire entrepreneurs. I forgot the entities that this woman created and still owns. Okay, then we have Tom DeLay, a former U.S. House Majority Leader, which I believe he may have been the first politician to enter the ballroom. I should have double checked that, but I feel pretty confident in that. He was partnered with Cheryl. We have actress Debi Mazar, partnered with Max. We have Chuck Liddell, UFC fighter, partnered with Anna. Remember how last season I was so surprised that Steve-O from the Jackass franchise was entering into the ballroom? Yeah, take that times 10 when I saw Chuck Liddell was entering the ballroom. I was so surprised, and I think most of you can concur with that. Next up, we had Natalie Coughlin, famous Olympic swimmer, partnered with Alec. Then we had famous actress Melissa Joan Hart enter the ballroom, partnered with Mark Ballas. Then we have professional snowboarder Louis Vito, partnered with Chelsea Hightower. We have NFL legend Michael Irvin, partnered with newcomer Anna Demidova. Then we have Iron Chef chairman Mark Dacascos, partnered with Lacey. We have one of my favorites, Aaron Carter, a singer, partnered with Karina. We have model actress, and many of you may know her because a lot of you messaged in the past last year saying like, I really don't know who this is. Then I was like, oh, she's from Real Housewives of Miami. And I'm like, oh, that's who it is. Joanna Krupa, partnered with Derek. We have Kelly Osbourne, partnered with Louis Van Amstel. We have singer Maya, partnered with Dmitry. And then the winner, Mirrorball champ of 2009, season 30. What are we at? Season 30. Season 9, Donny Osmond, partnered with Kim Johnson. That was a mouthful. That was 16 people. And this season was stacked. We had so many good people in it, so many surprisingly good people in it. We had huge fan bases with some of these people, and then other ones didn't have nearly as big of a fan base, but did very successful. You have our 3 main judges. We have Carrie Ann, Bruno, and Len. We have our 2 hosts, Samantha and Tom. And let's talk about the injuries of this season, because good Lord Almighty, So one of the more well-known, remembered injuries of this season was Tom DeLay, the politician, House representative, partnered with Cheryl. He had stress fractures in both feet, and his doctors had advised him he needed to just not dance, and they asked him to withdraw, and he did not want to. So he danced with those in both of his feet, and he ultimately did have to withdraw in week 3. It was pretty evident the longer he went, the more he just couldn't hide his facial expressions, the pain that he was in. And he was one of the more older contestants, and it probably just was not smart to do that. I can't even imagine a stress fracture in 1 foot, let alone 2, and then I'm on it for, at this time, they had just switched. I didn't touch on this last week because I am going to do a segment on the rules and regulations, but last season was the season where, or maybe it is this season, where they could only dance for 5-hour increments, and they needed to take at least a half-hour break every 2 hours. And there was one other stipulation, whereas prior to that, it was not regulated. Now, since then, many of the contestants and pros were like, well, we didn't follow that. But at least Dancing with the Stars was covering their butt legally to prevent these injuries. However, they still happen. So Tom DeLay, Cheryl Burke, they were removed week 3, even though they were told not to do it. Another notable, my notes, Debi Mazar was partnered with Max, and she had a rib injury and a strain that she got during rehearsals with Max. It didn't cause a withdrawal, but it definitely affected how Max was approaching the choreography, and at times the performance value of it was hindered a little bit because you could see that she was struggling. Ultimately, in the fan world, many people think that they could have gone farther had she not had that injury and not Max been able to use his full capacity choreography and her performance levels. Another injury we had was Melissa Joan Hart. She had a reoccurring ankle and foot pain during rehearsals. It was mentioned in more of the like backstage packages, but not really on the ballroom. It wasn't necessarily like a huge deal, but again, this season kind of was crowned the injury season. And so they included like all of the different little things that these contestants and pros were having issues with. Another injury we had was Aaron Carter. He, if you remember, and for those of you who don't, one of the things about Aaron and his time on the show was it was evident that he struggled with being a perfectionist. He was very hard on himself. He set the bar extremely high. Now, in the perfect world, we all have like what we should be doing and wanting to achieve that. But there was something extreme about Aaron's approach. And I think, again, one of those things, I think many of us who did watch it remember feeling like this might not be normal in the approach that he had with wanting to meet those expectations. So with that, he was pushing aside the injury and the discomfort and the pain he was experiencing with this knee and muscle strain, and pushing through it. And then ultimately, well, we're going to touch more on Aaron in a second. Rest in peace. Other notable injuries that really weren't necessarily like a huge injury, but there were sometimes, because of the pain that they were dealing with or the discomfort they were dealing with, the choreographers, the pros, had to kind of adjust how that performance was going to look or what they were going to dance so that the dancer could still be successful in what they were doing. So two of those were Kelly Osbourne. She had foot pain throughout the whole season, and there was a struggle point of balance and ankle stability, but you can see that Louis works with her on that. Another issue was Maya. She had a leg muscle strain, but she continued to perform, persevere. Neither of them were huge storylines throughout the show, but again, when we go back and we look back into the seasons, it's things to note that, like, gosh, these contestants were like really just like persevering. We also had Lacey come down with what might have been the flu, but it was never confirmed. She performed, but you could see that she was struggling. And yeah, so those were the injuries for that year, which to me, I think is a lot. I think last season it was different because there were two of them that had to completely be replaced before the show even aired. And then throughout it, it was chaotic. And then this is chaotic. So here's hoping the next few seasons are less injury prone. I think one of the cool things about season 9 was that there were 2 tributes and a huge guest appearance and performance. We had the Patrick Swayze tribute, which I shared last year. I'll share it again on my feed. I'll show you a clip. Just beautiful. Patrick Swayze had passed away, so this was the tribute to him. They also did a Michael Jackson tribute, which you can't ever go wrong with MJ dancing. Another fun tribute. And then this was the season that Whitney Houston showed up and performed. And she got, I don't remember, me personally, first off, if I'm going to be completely transparent and honest, I just don't remember her on the show. But when I was doing research on it, there's a cardinal back there. I haven't seen a cardinal since we moved to this house. Cardinals are very big in our family. When she did her performance, when I'm doing the research on it, apparently some of the stuff I read was that she was a bit not up to her level. Now, you have to remember, this was fall 2009. She goes on to pass away 2012, beginning of 2012. So what is that? Just over 2 years later. And those were the years that people were very concerned with her health and her substance abuse. And so maybe that had something to do with the lackluster performance. Maybe not. I don't know. Years, your top two were Maya, the singer, partnered with Dmitry, and Donny Osmond, singer, entertainer, Vegas legend, partnered with Kim Johnson. So this was a very tight race, as it had been leading up. The top two are generally very close. Many felt strongly that Maya should have won. And if you go even look at my page, that whenever I ask a question of like, who was the most wronged in the winning process, there are several, for sure. But I feel like this season has one of the most controversial wins. But at the same time, we always, if you are new here, I like to take the perspectives of all the different things and take that into consideration. Dancing with the Stars, especially in 2009, I would say their largest demographic viewer was a woman in her 40s, 50s, and 60s watching the show. Now, by all means, I watched it. I was young 20s when I was watching it. And I have plenty of friends who did the same. But when you take that factor into consideration, of course it makes sense that Donny Osmond won. The redeeming, he was out to, and he was good. Now, the crazy part is he started kind of bumpy on the show and then worked his way up. And I think truly Donny was a great performer, obviously. Successful at what he does. I think what the magic spell with him was Kim. I don't know one person who doesn't like Kim. So I feel like if Kim, who is being who she is partnered with someone of Donny's nature, she's going to be successful. They are going to be successful. So to me, in that moment, yeah, I did want Maya to win. More so, I wanted Dmitry to win. I am one of those girls who kind of votes for the pro versus the contestant. But I was, again, I didn't vote until more recently in the years, but I was picking Maya and Dmitry to win. But it made sense to me. I personally was not surprised that Donny and Kim won. I was sad because I wanted Maya to win, but I was not surprised. That's not a word I would have used. But many of you were very upset with that winning. Here's where I wish I filmed this at night sometimes, because I would have a glass of wine. Because here is one of the, like I said, to me, one of the top 10 juiciest moments of the Dancing with the Stars history is Max and Karina dating, getting engaged, all very quickly, and then it falling apart nearly as quickly as it started, but then you throw in Aaron Carter. So where do I even start with this? So Karina and Max have been on the show for a while. They are very, very well known and very, very well loved by their fans and the viewers. regardless of sometimes people saying they have poor attitudes. Both of them. So to me, it made sense that these two connected. They seemed to me to have very similar beings to me. So when I heard that they were dating, I honestly was not surprised at all. And truth be told, they were a beautiful couple. They start dating secretly at first in fall 2008, so a year prior to this. They get engaged on New Year's Eve 2008 going into 2009. It is when they become engaged that most people catch on that they were even a couple. Again, it was a very short time frame of them dating, then they got engaged. Once they were engaged, plenty of interviews were done. There was speakings of them getting married summer 2010. But they were very busy with their work schedules, right? Then in the summer of 2009, leading up to right before the show airing for season 9, they did an interview, or somehow it came about that they had put a pause on wedding planning because their workout, I believe I have it here, Max said, we work 14-hour days, like we can do nothing besides work right now. And again, for me, I didn't take anything from it. It made sense to me. They were very, very busy, and I loved that they were at least self-aware that right now was not the time to jump into wedding planning to the level that you need to be at when you're planning a wedding outside of just the basics. Then we find out Karina is partnered with Aaron Carter, which, mind you, he was 21 when he did this show. Karina and Max, much older. Okay, I actually just went to verify. So when season 9 started, Aaron Carter was 21, Karina was 31, and Max was 29. I didn't know that Karina was older than Max. So those are your age ranges. Okay, so they start, and outsiders looking in, aka fans and viewers, felt that Karina and Aaron oftentimes were a bit more friendly than you would expect someone to be who is engaged. I don't think Aaron was dating anyone at the time, but I don't know that for a fact. And in the midst of the season, September specifically, so they had literally just started season 9, and it is announced that Max and Karina have called off their wedding and they're no longer engaged, and it it was like super evident that there was so much tension there. And then Aaron is in the midst of all of this. They say for a long time throughout that season and even post that season that they never overstepped any boundaries or anything like that. 12 years later, Aaron does go on to say that him and Karina actually were dating, and they definitely messed around but didn't do anything else like sexual. So can you, at their age, does that, there's a lot of gray areas. Now, to put that out there, couple things. Aaron did that interview at the beginning stages, or in the mid, how do I touch on Aaron? That interview was done, and he didn't have at that time the most reliable sources, aka him. He was not in a good place. Karina and Max never touched on his allegations, his story. They just never talked about it. And at that point, why would they? She had since had a child with someone else, and Max has married Peta, and they were starting their family. So I think it's why I always am the person that's like, just walk away. Like, the less you give to that person, the better. I'm a full believer in that, no matter how bad it sucks. But let's touch on Aaron Carter real quick because he is near and dear to my heart. If you've been around, I've told you guys, get comfy here, I've been very fortunate for multiple different reasons to have met, mingled, hung out with different celebrities. And throughout this series, I've said who I've met, and there are many more to come. Aaron and I got to meet twice. Gosh, I was in middle school. No, I was in high school. Junior year of high school, yes. I'm a type 1 diabetic from Orlando, Florida. And so at the time, our foundation had someone working within our chapter who was close with the Carter family. So I was able, and my friends were able to meet the Carters at several different times, Nick included. Oh my gosh, we'll talk about that when Nick comes on the season, way down the road. Aaron was super nice, but even at that time, so what was that? That was 2002, probably somewhere in that realm. Still, he had, you know, we saw him at Hard Rock. No, was it? No, not Hard Rock. The House of Blues. And so he was still, you know, releasing music. He was still touring, things like that. But like we were supposed to go bowling with him and he didn't end up coming, and you could tell that he was just really tired, and you could just see, even for a kid, like he was just like kind of checked out at that point. So anywho, Aaron then goes on to have success. He did Broadway, he did some acting. He was doing everything he could to not be in the shadows of his brother. They did have, and I can only speak on the little that I met, the little that I know, their family was definitely chaotic. So Aaron goes on to eventually have a substance abuse problem. He, you know, towards the end of his life, you really weren't sure what to believe or not to believe. He spewed a lot of accusations to people, including his family members. And I'm not here to get into like who did what, if it's true or not true, but he would say something. And then whether it's months later or years later, he would say, oh, that's not true. And then he would like flip the script. And he did that several times. And a lot of it, you can't help but wonder, like, was it, you know, the substance abuse, mental health issues that were not being taken care of. He eventually met someone, they had a child together, and just a couple months later, he was found in his home, in his bathtub. They labeled it an accidental drowning, and that he was a huffer. And so he was huffing the computer cleaner spray cans and then mixing that with other drug usage, and then he took a bath and accidentally drowned. Now, there's also a lot of conspiracy theories about that. I'm not here to delve into that. I'm just saying this is what the police reported and what the autopsy report shows and whatnot. You can message me what your thoughts are, where you think but when I found out Aaron died, for some reason, and again, I'm extremely empathetic, and there are several celebrities when they've passed away that I've never met that just hit me in a certain way. It hit Naya Rivera. I was out for the count for a little bit when she passed away. And I don't know why some hit me stronger than others, or some hit me the way that they do. But when Aaron died, I remember we were decorating our Christmas tree, or we were doing something Christmas related. And I literally had to sit down on the couch. I was like, this can't be accurate. And it's still so sad to me that his child will never get to know, because at the end of the day, I think there was a lot of good in Aaron that just got lost in the abyss. Anywho, okay, so last week after I had finished filming season 8, I know I'm not saying it right, but at this point I'm going to stick to it. Gilles Marini from Sex and the City, which many of you knew at the time, Cheryl Burke's partner from season 8, responded to me with his Mirror Ball Minute answers. And I was so ecstatic because some people, and I get it, everyone's time is different, everyone's experience is different. Some people want to be a part of this and some people don't. But I was really excited to see, he gave me some really in-depth insight onto his experience on season 8 of Dancing with the Stars. So I'm gonna share with you his answers. Okay, I'm gonna move my computer over so that I can share this with you guys. Okay, so he responds, let's see, what is one word to describe your season on the show? He says, transformative. It pushed me physically, emotionally, mentally, and it revealed parts of me I didn't even know were there. I love that I get to have this with them and then share it with you guys. All right, what is your favorite memory of your time on the show? The first time I realized that I belong there, not as the actor trying to dance, but as a real competitor. There's a moment when the fear drops and the joy takes over. I'll never forget that shift, and honestly, the connection with my partners. That trust we built day after day. What was your favorite dance of your time on the show? The Argentine tango. You all know how much I love that one. It demanded intensity, control, and vulnerability for the pro, my partner also, all at once. It wasn't about tricks, it was about presence. That dance felt like storytelling through stillness and fire. Y'all, and I'm going to be sharing this dance as the flashback, ballroom flashback for this week. One of them, I'm doing a couple, because I love this one so much. Was it easier or harder than you thought it would be? Much harder. And I mean that in the best way. You think you're in shape, and then you rehearse 8 hours a day in a discipline your body has never done before. It's humbling, but that's where growth happens. Yes, so much yes. If you were asked back for a new all-star season, would you consider? Absolutely. When something challenges you at the level and gives you kind of connection with the audience, it stays with you. I'd come back wiser and probably even more fearless. He ends it with saying, voila. I was very appreciative of his sharing his time and answers with me. He was a very big part of Dancing with the Stars. So many people fell in love with him. Many, myself included. I was not a Sex and the City fan. My mom is a diehard fan. So I was not familiar with him in the least. However, by the end of that season, I had a new level of respect and acknowledgement of who he was. So I absolutely love that he shared that insight with us. He was a really big part of the show. I actually just got Louis Vito's Mirror Ball Minute answers, but I'm gonna save that for next week. Another person who gave a lot of insight, Louis Vito was paired with Chelsea Hightower on this season, and he was the snowboarder bad boy kind of vibe. So I was really excited. He just announced he was in the last Olympics last month and performed. He was the oldest snowboarder to ever compete. And then he, after wrapping up his time on the Olympics, he announced his retirement from the sport. Competitive wise, he will continue to be a snowboarder forever. Anyway, so I'm very appreciative once again of everyone reaching out and sharing their insight with us on their time on the show. It means so much to me that these people take just a few minutes to answer the questions and then let us know how they felt during their time. With that being said, that wraps up season 9 of Dancing with the Stars. Thank you guys so much for joining me this week. Thank you for joining me every single week. I can't believe we're nearly 1/3 of the way through this series. That's wild to me. Let me know in the comments or shoot me a message if there's ever anything more you wish I would dive more into or maybe not share as much about. I love hearing from you guys. I say it every week. I love conversations with you guys, whether it's Dancing with the Stars related or some of you I've grown to know as friends. So thanks again. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to follow me over on Instagram and Facebook, Mixing It Up with Melina. That wraps up this week. Have a great week. Bye.